This bed would be really excellent for a good sleeper, a man who could stretch out and sleep well. But it does even me good, always tired as I am, without being able to sleep. I spend a large part of the day in it. I do all my correspondence here, and it's where I conduct my hearings with members of the public. It works very well, to be sure. To be sure, the members of the public have nowhere to sit, but they can manage without. And anyway, it's nicer for them to stand while the person conducting the hearing feels good than to comfortably sit while he keeps shouting at them. So I can offer only this place on the edge of the bed. But it's not an official place. It's just meant for nocturnal conversations. But you are so quiet, Mr. Land Surveyor. I'm very tired, said Kay, who had sat down on the bed at once upon being invited, abruptly and unceremoniously, leaning against the bedpost. Of course you are, said Bürgel, laughing. Everyone here is tired. For instance, it was no small workload I dealt with both yesterday and today. It's out of the question for me to sleep now. But if that extremely improbable event should occur, if I were to fall asleep while you're here, then please keep perfectly still and don't open the door. Never fear though. I certainly won't fall asleep. Or if I do, it will be at most only for a few minutes. The fact is that, probably because I am so used to the coming and going of members of the public, I always sleep most easily when I have company. Do by all means go to sleep, Mr. Secretary, said Kay, pleased to hear this announcement. And then, if you will allow me, I will get a little sleep too. No, laughed Bürgel. I'm afraid I can't fall asleep merely on invitation. The opportunity may come only in the course of conversation. Yes, a conversation is the most likely thing to send me to sleep. Our business is bad for the nerves, you see. I, for instance, am a communications secretary. You don't know what that is? Well, I am the main line of communication. And so saying, he rubbed his hands quickly with instinctive cheerfulness. Between Friedrich and the village, I deal with communications between his castle secretary and his village secretary. I am generally in the village, but not all the time. I have to be ready to drive up to the castle at a moment's notice. You see that traveling bag? Ah, it's a restless life. It's not for everyone. On the other hand, it's a fact that I couldn't do without this kind of work now, or any other work would seem dull to me. And what is land surveying like? I'm not doing any of that. I'm not employed as a land surveyor here, said Kay, whose thoughts were not really on the subject. In fact, he was simply longing for Bürgel to go to sleep, although even that was out of a certain sense of what he owed to himself. In the depths of his mind, he thought he knew that the moment when Bürgel might fall asleep was still incalculably far away. "Well, that's amazing," said Bürgel, throwing his head back in a lively manner and producing a notepad from under the blanket to write something down on it. "You are a land surveyor, and you have had no surveying work to do." Kay nodded mechanically. He had raised his left arm to the top of the bedpost and was resting his head on it. He had already tried various ways of making himself comfortable, but this was the most comfortable position of all. Now he could pay a little more attention to what Bürgel was saying. "I am prepared," Bürgel went on, "to pursue this question further. Matters here are certainly not in such a state that any professional skill ought to be left unused. And it must annoy you too. Don't you suffer from it?" "I do indeed suffer from it," said Kay, slowly smiling to himself. For just now he did not suffer from it in the slightest. Moreover, Bürgel's offer made little impression on him. It sounded thoroughly amateurish. Knowing nothing of the circumstances of Kay's appointment, of the difficulties put in its way in the village and the castle, of the complications that had already arisen or looked like arising during Kay's stay here, knowing nothing about any of that, even without giving any sign that, as might have been expected of a secretary, he had some faint idea of it all. He was proposing to put the whole thing in order with the help of his little notepad, just like that. But then Bürgel said, "You seem to have had several disappointments already," thus showing a certain understanding of human nature again. And ever since Kay entered this room, he had told himself from time to time not to underestimate Bürgel. However, in his present condition, it was difficult to judge anything properly except his own weariness. "No, no," said Bürgel, as if replying to some thought in Kay's mind and kindly sparing him the trouble of saying it out loud. "You mustn't let disappointments deter you. A good deal here seems designed for deterrence. And when you're new to the place, you feel it's impossible to get past the obstacles. I don't mean to try finding out how things really are. Perhaps the appearance really corresponds to the reality. In my position, I don't stand at the right distance from it to establish that. But note this. Opportunities sometimes arise that have hardly anything to do with the situation as a whole. Opportunities when a word, a glance, a sign of trust can achieve more than the tedious, lifelong efforts. Yes, that's the way of it. Of course, these opportunities do agree with the situation as a whole, insofar as they are never exploited. But why are they not exploited? That's what I always wonder. Kay didn't know. He didn't realize that what Bürgel was talking about probably concerned him closely. But just now he had a great dislike for everything that concerned him closely. He moved his head a little way aside, as if he could thus leave the way clear for Bürgel's questions to pass him by and not touch him any more.